So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show talking about the Tampa Bay real estate statistics. We talk about them every month because we want you to stay informed about what's going on. Whether you're an owner, whether you're thinking about buying, thinking about selling, no matter what it is, we want you to know what's going on in the marketplace. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of information on national news that talks about national real estate stats, but you don't always get what's going on locally, and that's what we're going to share with you right now. The Tampa stats for April came out, and in April of 19, there were 3,334 sales. So, to put this into perspective, we've been talking for a little bit of time about how sales were dropping. Were they softening in Tampa? Was this a sign of a shift? Or was it simply that there was a lull at the end of the year because of some of the obstacles with interest rates? Was there some fear going on because of political climates and different things? And I'm here to share some exciting stuff with you in that we had the 3,334 number is the most number of sales that we've seen in April ever. Ever. That's the highest number of home sales in an April ever.
I'm actually really surprised by that.
Yeah, so I think that it is a great sign for Tampa, a great sign that things are trending in the right direction. The fear-mongering that the market's going to shift and go in the other direction. I think we had a couple-month blip on the radar, and I don't think we're going to keep seeing record-breaking months. I think a lot of the sales that rolled into April were sales that didn't end up happening in December, January, February when we saw year-over-year drops, and they've just simply pushed into April. You also had some stuff happen that pushed some closings back, moved them into other months. So there's definitely still a very, very healthy real estate market. So 3,334 to put that into perspective, last April we had 3,069, so about a 10% bump from last April. The April before that, 2,823. The one before that, 2,811, and a similar number in 2015 in April. So April, well, a lot of the sales that we lost in prior months where we were talking about, hey, are we seeing some stabilization? We gained them back in April. So we're back to seeing more home sales, through year-to-date 2019 compared to 18 in Tampa. Now, are other parts of the country seeing that statistic? No, they're not. There's other parts of the country that aren't. In fact, when I talk about Sarasota and Manatee in a minute. But the other part about the stats that I believe we're going to see is I wouldn't be surprised to see May or June maybe off of last year's pace. We're going to have this up and down kind of stabilization for a while. It's not an exact trend in another direction. It's more of a stabilization. Average sale price in April was $270,793. Last April it was $266,000. The April before that it was $251,000. The April before that was $235,000. So still seeing appreciation. However, from $266,000 to $270,000, not a ton of appreciation. A couple percentage points.
Less than what they say is average.
Correct. Yeah. So not a huge amount of appreciation. Last month the average sale price was $268,000. This month $270,000. So a nice little bump up from there. Homes selling on average in a couple of months. 2.5 months of inventory, which is and this is a little bit scary, the second lowest amount of inventory that we've recorded in the Tampa market in history.
Wow.
So while, interestingly enough though, while it's something I'm excited about, I think Robert's probably over there kind of putting two together too, our inventory at our company is not going that direction. We are listing way more homes. So we're getting our unfair share. We are not seeing a drop in the number of listings that our team takes. In fact, we're seeing a dramatic growth. We're on pace to break a record this month for the number of homes that we've listed. So while the market is seeing fewer listings, sellers are maybe getting a little bit more serious, and they're calling the right real estate agents. But 2.5 months of inventory, lowest amount of inventory that we've seen, in a long time. But a sign again that the whispers about fears about real estate, aren't really there. Now, are there pockets in the market that aren't doing as well as they were a year ago? Sure. There are. And is there some impact because there were a couple of really high-priced sales in the average sale price number? Yes. There's some of that there. In fact, when I look at the higher-end real estate market, it's starting to show a little bit more struggles than it had a year ago. So again, lots of great signs in our real estate market. A great April. It'll be interesting to see how the summer goes. if it goes in that same direction where we continue to see really low inventory, and just, a lot of sales, some of it's gonna hedge on interest rates.
Yeah, and I actually saw something, who knows what's gonna happen, but there's some talks again about the feds cutting interest rates again. So, always a roller coaster.
I
never know.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So one thing to keep in mind, and again, this is for folks out there that have homes, really highly valuable homes, and by that I mean, $1 million, plus type homes. When you hear 2.5 months of inventory, we don't have 2.5 months of inventory of luxury homes. We have 15 months of inventory.
Yes, and that's
So
what we're seeing.
So luxury home sellers, the market is very saturated, okay? There's a lot of you guys out there trying to take your gains, and not as many buyers out there. Similarly, same thing, 900 to 1 million, 10 months of inventory, 800 to 900, 9.6, then 8.4 below that. So again, you are in a buyer's market in the higher end.
But you know what? It really does, again, and we always say this, it really depends on the neighborhood and on the
True.
agent that you choose. Because I'm going to tell you.
We've got $1 million sales that we've sold really fast.
This week, we sold, this week I put $1 million property under contract that we only had listed for 2 weeks.
Wow.
In a great area in Pinellas County. But again, you need to have a good strategy to do that. And I put a $230,000 property under contract that is going to close $20,000 over we were on the market for.
Yeah.
So it really just depends on your strategy.
Real estate is so local, guys.
Absolutely.
Right. It's so local. People look at it and think, oh, well, my neighbor that lives in Riverview got this, and I live in, Palm Harbor.
But I really do
that doesn't mean it'll be the same in your neighborhood.
But I really do think it comes down to, are you being realistic as a seller for the price? Because what we're seeing is when stuff's priced well and it has a good marketing strategy, it's going under contract. But where they're really getting in trouble is where they're chasing down
And I think the luxury,
market.
market, you have people that have money, they're a little bit more ambitious, maybe a little bit more ego. Maybe they think their house is worth more than it really is because they think theirs is the best, and they've got the cool this or the cool that, so they think it's worth what that cost, and it's really not. So Sarasota, it's similar, 15 months of inventory above $1 million. However, their high-end market in terms of 10 plus months of inventory for them starts at 600. So 600 and above in Sarasota has 10 plus months of inventory. Now, a lot of healthy activity in their mid-level price ranges where it's 3 and 4 and 5 months of inventory. But you get into the upper end, again, same thing. You have too many home sellers wanting to take their gain and not enough home buyers willing to pay the price or the premium that some people are asking. I mean, I'll see a house and say, how could, the home down the street that's very comparable sold for 2.5, how can they think theirs is worth 3.2? And so you do have that struggle, and so I think that the luxury market is softer in Tampa Bay, and I think it'll probably trend in that direction as more home sellers see the equity, the appreciation, and say, oh, I'm going to take my gain. So Sarasota stats, going into them in a little bit more detail. So 1,691 sales in Sarasota in April. And similarly, April in Sarasota, very, very, very strong. We've had a run in Sarasota where you had 4 or 5 months in a row of year-over-year decrease in number of home sales and decrease in average sale price.
Is this Sarasota Manatee?
Yeah, Sarasota Manatee.
Okay.
Yeah. 1,691 sales in April. Last April, 1,686. Not really much different.
Really
Pretty
cool.
much flat line. Same thing. Same thing as last year, but better than the last several Aprils prior to that. Average sale price $389. That's the highest average sale price for the year. January was $387. February $378, March $367, so in April it was $389, but last April $402. So we're not seeing the same things in Sarasota Manatee that we saw in Tampa. We didn't gain all of those sales back. We didn't have some huge surge in April like Tampa did. You're still seeing that kind of stabilization, or each month you either have the number of home sales drop or the average price point, or the average sale price, the depreciation kind of coming in. So the market in Sarasota, Manatee is more trending in a weakening direction, but still stabilizing. No drastic, real estate doesn't move like the stock market. It's not gonna lose 2 percentage points in a day. I mean, it's very, very slow moving. Another thing to keep in mind, 4.1 months of inventory in Sarasota, Manatee. We had 9 in January. So that, you're starting to see that, that seasonality come into play. And buyers jump back into the market, and again, interest rates, a major part of that. But nonetheless, the same things in Tampa are not happening in Sarasota, Manatee. They're still seeing some signs of kind of the stabilization, and they're still off from last year. If you were to compare the number of home sales last year to the number of home sales this year, they're off about 10% total year to date from January to the end of April this year to January to the end of April last year. And prices are down too. Last January, February, March, April, Sarasota, Manatee average prices 407, 401, 393, 402. This year, 387, 378, 367, 389. We haven't had a month above 400. Last year, 3 of the first 4 months of the year were. So, again, lots of changes, things to pay attention to. The high-end market softening.
I was going to say, I honestly think that just goes back to the high-end market. I mean, you're kind of seeing softening of that all over the place, and in Sarasota,
Correct.
Where so much of the market is high-end, it really
it does
affects
pull
it.
things down.
You can have 1 or 2 high-end sales that totally throw off that average number.
Correct.